Thanks everyone for joining the webinar today. It's as we've said on the title slide there, it's about moving to the cloud with Britannic, and we're supported by our colleagues at Zoom here. We've got James to talk to us. So the agenda that we're going to follow today is, as I hope you will have all seen through the website, there's like I said, two fantastic speakers and me. I'm here to discuss how Britannic approach change projects, migration projects in the customer experience space. I'll then hand over to James Adamchuk, who's an evangelist, a CX evangelist at Zoom, who's going to discuss how Zoom's integrated ecosystem really delivers a rich and deep experience for you, our customers. And then we'll hand over to Gil Anide, who's a solution consultant at Britannic, who's going to discuss how we can blur the edges of the vendor platforms to make sure we've got really well personalized solutions based on the business outcomes that you guys need to achieve. We'll also have a Q&A at the end. So if you drop your Qs into the webinar bit at the bottom, we'll do our best to provide an A at the end. I think some of you may have a meeting invite which says we're running until 3 o'clock on this webinar. That's not the case. We plan to finish on or around 2 o'clock. So you get an hour back that way. Right, so for those who don't know us, Britannic have been operating in the customer experience space for around 40 years, well, just over 40 years actually. We had our 40th birthday party a couple of weekends ago, and we've seen lots of change through that time. We've seen huge amounts of migration from the analog world to the digital world, into IP, to virtualized, to private cloud, now into public cloud. And you can be assured that our teams we've seen it all. We've been through a lot of these projects, the good and the bad ones, and we've got a load of experience that we can deploy to help you achieve the strategic goals that you're looking for. But to focus on the bit of my presentation, which was how we plan for change, how we make sure that we've got well thought out, well planned projects. We understand that kind of the best projects understand the readiness for change, right? The best projects have been based on effective planning and a really strong knowledge of where the individual business sits and how that sits within the market. So it may seem obvious that you've got to understand the starting position to understand where you're going, but it's not. We've seen loads of cases where departments that have got autonomy in certain areas, but don't always understand the unexpected consequences of the actions that they may take. And that problem just gets amplified more and more in the larger organizations, where strategy is set quite a long way from the people responsible for actually delivering upon that change. So we kind of recognize that we really need to understand that that whole piece much more before we can embark upon a strategic change project. We noticed that the best projects that we worked on all followed a very similar pattern. They all followed the pattern of really a deep level of engagement with multiple stakeholders. So we codified it into something which we've called our success program, the 5 major steps of which I've put up onto this slide here. And you may not tell it from my voice, but this is something I'm genuinely passionate about. It's a program that we've created and codified and kind of honed, so we can deploy it over and over again. It's a common toolkit which everyone at Britannic has access to, which we can deploy with you collaboratively with our customers to make sure we understand what we need to do to make your project a success. So to go through the steps in it, if I start at the top, the 12 o'clock position is the discovery step. That's kind of the first salvo of this piece. It's where we go and talk to senior leadership teams, understand strategy, success criteria, desired outcomes, really to get a good view of where we need to be heading and kind of the framework that the rest of the project's going to sit in. We then take that through to the next level, which is our diagnostic, which is a much deeper dive into the processes and technological landscape in which any project of change is going to be deployed. And within this, we offer our analytics insights tool, which is it's a real game changer in the process. And I'll come on to talk about that in 1 or 2 slides time. Once we've got that deeper level of understanding around processes, around technological landscape and those things, we kind of play that back into senior management. Kind of these are the findings from all the interviews and the focus groups that we've undertaken in your business. And these are our recommendations for how you can best deploy a solution which meets the strategic goals that you're looking to achieve. And like I said, it's a very collaborative process at that point. We want to make sure that we're taking on board feedback, and kind of understanding kind of things that we might not have picked up through the process, or kind of, have you thought about this bit, or have you looked at that bit? How it all sits in the playback. And then we build a really highly tailored demo, based on specific use cases off the back of that. And again, very collaborative, kind of looking at user interfaces, looking at integration capabilities, asking questions about, can we do this bit? Have we thought about that? And once we've done all that, we've got all that feedback, we're then in a position to put together a final, fully costed phased design, which forms a roadmap for the next 3, 5, 7 years of the engagement with Britannic. And always, adoption and success of one area is how we kind of define the trigger to deploy the next. And we always come back and we iterate on that process, making sure we've kept the circle rounded, that we've understood the success criteria, every point that we're meeting the success criteria. We'll review that 3 and 6 months after a solution's been deployed, just to make sure that we are delivering value throughout the whole piece. And the kind of the areas that we focus on when we're doing that, like I said, there's kind of the discovery and diagnostic phase of the absolute crucial parts, but there's 4 pillars that we kind of focus on, which have thrown up there: the people, the data, the technology, and the processes. If we miss any one of those 4 pieces, we may end up with a lopsided project which fails to consider something crucial. So if we want to deliver something that's really clever, but we don't understand that, you don't have the FTE to deliver it, then that's going to fall down on the people side. If you don't have the data to underpin some strategy or some AI deployment, it's going to fall down there. If the technological landscape that we're operating in doesn't support a particular API or integration, then we fall apart. And if the processes aren't clearly documented and understood, we can deploy something which then doesn't meet the need. So it's really important that we understand those 4 pillars, not pillows, 4 pillars. And we've got success criteria listed against them all. And we need to work with a broad view of people in order to get a proper view of the landscape. So getting the voice of the customer is absolutely key. And again, more on that in the AI insights in the next slide, or analytics insights in the next slide. And speaking to people who are responsible for delivering the customer experience. I've termed them agents on this slide, but it doesn't necessarily need to be agents, just members of your team, whatever they may be. They're the ones that are responsible for delivering the customer experience. So we need to understand where their challenges sit and what they can do to effectively support where we're trying to get to. Speaking with middle management, also really important. They're the people that are going to be responsible for implementing the processes. We need to know what their reporting requirements are. We need to know where they think the pinch points are. We need to make sure that they're bought into everything that we want to do. And obviously the SLT, they're people that are setting that strategic direction. So we need to make sure that we are engaged with those people, so we can, the business outcomes are focused upon. But again, I've mentioned it a couple of times there, that voice of the customer is really important, and the analytics insights tool is crucial for picking that up for us. What we do through this tool, which we make available to customers completely free of charge, is it allows us to import information on real customer interactions. It gives us hundreds of data points over voice or digital interactions, and gives us a really rich picture of customer efforts, customer sentiment, kind of reasons for contact, keywords, and lets us take the focus away from noisy experiences, the top and the bottom experiences, and focus on the silent middle, because that's where the true value lies. That's where people understand. That's where the majority of experiences are. So if people are slightly frustrated by something, that's where it sits. It's not the people that are super pleased or the people that are super annoyed. It's that middle piece. And when we understand that large number of interactions, we can effectively plan and design a solution which improves upon that experience. And we've got loads of examples that we can go into about that. I think my time is about done there, but I'll come back at the end. If there's any questions, I'll try and answer them there, and I'll put my phone number and email address up at the end as well. So if you want any more examples of how we've deployed this for the good, just let me know. But at this point, I don't want to cut into James's time anymore. James is a really engaging speaker. He's like I said, a customer experience evangelist from Zoom. He's going to go through how some of that ecosystem really improves on the experiences that we can deliver for you guys. So see you again at the end. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, James. So from one James to another, I love what you said then, by the way, because I think it's super important to think about analytics because we've moved away from this world of reporting into real actionable insights. And if I want to transform we'll look at this from a customer experience, my customer experience, I need to know what's going on. And one thing that I love about what you guys are doing at Britannic is that you're really into what's going on. Because if I don't know what's going on, how am I going to be able to make improvements, that step change, that life cycle management? So it's absolutely critical to have the capability of being able to dig right into the data to understand what's happening there. So I completely love that, James. I'm not just a namesake, but I totally get it. And it's so important. Okay, so hopefully I've got some slide control. If not, you're going to be doing the old-fashioned next slide, please approach. So maybe we can start with next slide, please, and then we can take it from there. Okay, so a little bit about me. My name's James Adamchuk. I've got quite a nice job title, CX Evangelist of EMEA. I mean, what does that actually mean? Well, it means that I'm here to talk about customer experience and here to talk about how Zoom and Britannic can help the people who are listening today about how we can make a difference to what you're trying to do. And what's very interesting about this webinar is that the title is about moving to the cloud with confidence. If we can't move to the cloud with confidence, it's going to cause us some issues when it comes to things like being able to deliver a great experience for our customers because we've got issues with the platform or issues with cloud connectivity. We're here to take that pain away so you can start being creative around how you're bringing all of this to life. So, James, if you don't mind spinning on the slide, please, I'd appreciate that. Perfect. So at Zoom, we talk about limitless human connection, and it sounds very grandiose and this big kind of buzzwords or whatever. But what does that actually mean when we talk about limitless human connection? It means about the conversation that we're having now, even though it's a bit more kind of broadcast, if you will, over a webinar, or a connection that I have the next time I'm calling somebody and I've got an inquiry at the hospital, or I might be having a video consultation around a product or service that I'm interested in, or a fault or an issue in my home where I can show what's going on. This limitless human connection can be human to human. It could be human to machine or have some automation there. But to get there and to genuinely to be able to reimagine how we are doing this stuff as per this slide, we need to have confidence that this is all going to be underpinned by a platform that has the scalability and reliability and the tool sets to allow me to bring this to life. And this is the reason why I'm pretty enthusiastic about this. Yeah, please go right ahead. Why I'm enthusiastic about it, because at Zoom, this is what we're doing. So I joined just shy of 2 years ago now at Zoom from the customer side. So my background is all around financial services and large scale digital transformation, exactly what James has just been talking about with the process that Britannic use when it comes to consulting based services. That's my background. So I've felt the pain of delivery and the stress of migration and the stress of stakeholder management during projects. We need to try and make this an easy and simple thing to do as much as we possibly can. So at Zoom, what we've tried to do here is deliver things as much more of a platform-based approach. So you can see here on we've got Zoom Workplace, which is kind of containing all the kind of classic Zoom things like meetings and whiteboard and phone and some of the collaboration tools that we have. And then on the right-hand side of this picture, we look at business services. And we talked previously around moving to the cloud with confidence. We have clients who regularly run Zoom events of 10,000 plus attendees in one go. You've got to be pretty confident about the platform that you're delivering that type of content on. It's going to brand affecting. We've got many clients, within the FTSE 100 here in the UK that use our technology to deliver large scale events. And then when we start thinking about things like contact center and quality management, because we have the platform where we can deliver at scale and the capability to have things like voice recording and transcription-based services, imagine if we start then using those use cases in the customer experience environment. So it's tried and tested technology in the cloud with a CX use case. It's absolutely marvelous. So when customers talk to us about, well, why Zoom? You guys are like meetings, you know, well, we can say that yes, we are meetings, but because of meetings, we can now look at transforming what a next generation contact center would look like, or delivering a Zoom event with 10,000 plus attendees in real time. It's a joy to use. Okay, so if we move the slides forward, perfect, it's working beautifully, slide control now. We've touched on innovation, okay? And again, one thing I love about working here and working with partners like Britannic, especially with Britannic, is the fact that Britannic wants to innovate with you. You guys are really important customer base to Britannic. And to stay competitive and for you to stay ahead, you need to be partnering with firms like Britannic, using technology that's going to help you go on a journey and stay relevant and differentiate what service or function that you're providing to your customers. So if we look at Zoom's journey, we started with Zoom meetings like everybody knows about. If we'd have stayed with Zoom meetings, yes, it's an amazing product, in my view, the best on the market. But over time, how do we stay relevant as a firm? What does Zoom do really well? Well, we innovate. We know that we have got this amazing cloud-based global platform with, 5 nines uptime. You can see the statistics for yourselves. So take the technology and repurpose it over time and refactor what we do so we can build on our successes. And then, as you can see on this slide here, start just over 2 years ago now with Zoom Contact Center, delivering a genuine voice, video, and messaging-based contact center that works out of the box with relatively straightforward configuration. And Britannic were one of the first teams here in the UK, partners here in the UK, that saw the potential of what we're doing. And we're very proud to have these guys with us and giving us this opportunity to talk to you today. So we start with Zoom Contact Center. And then what? Customers were asking us, well, what's your answer for automation within the voice and messaging channel? And that's where we took Zoom Virtual Agent and our first foray into true AI-powered contact center by having a tool and system that, as James mentioned earlier, can see about what's going on inside the contact center and how your customers are interacting with you, and then start delivering automation through voice and messaging services. So it's brilliant technology, but only as good as the data that you're feeding it, right? So again, back to data, this whole 360 thing. So we go from Zoom Virtual Agent and automation into customers who are then asking us about, well, I'd like to be able to manage my staffing and my forecasting and scheduling. So it rolls in Zoom Workforce Management, and then Zoom Quality Management, which is taking the written, the spoken word or the written word and understanding the sentiment of those conversations. So this richness of this data and the fact that we started by delivering in confidence in the cloud with Zoom meetings means that we're really, really in a very good position to be able to take Zoom customer experience forward. It's absolutely brilliant. And trust me, when I joined Zoom in August 2022, it was very, fledgling product. And since that August 2022, 700 plus new features that speak for themselves. And it's exactly why we have been winning with Britannic as well, because we're listening to what the customer problems are. We're focusing on what outcomes are important to yourselves who are listening to us today and genuinely caring about delivering on those outcomes. We can talk about the technology all day long, but when we move the conversation up a level and start focusing on outcomes, it becomes much more rich and helps us really understand that full life cycle of your customers. So let's have a think about how this has kind of changed over time as well. And maybe some of the people on the webinar today and people who are watching us on catch up as well. Great to have you here. It's think about where you are on this journey. We had a bit of kind of thought leadership internally within Zoom, and we tried to think about how we can put how customer experience has changed over time. moving away from this kind of like on-premise based contact center, maybe your early noughties approach of, maybe one single channel being serviced at any one time with maybe some dialer in there or something like that. Very voice centric, where customers are given a simple DTMF or button press menu to be able to get from one part of the customer to one part of the customer journey to another. But things very much working in silos. Messaging stayed messaging and voice stayed voice. In fact, there wasn't really any messaging, was it? Let's face it, very, very basic functionality. And the key point here is that this is on-premise based contact centers. So firms spent a lot of money on this, a lot of money on data centers or hosting and cost that's coming straight out of my bottom line. So I might have delivered a great product in wave one, but it was very much kind of static. And we've got to think about how we can then build that journey going forward. So now with wave two, which is kind of like where we are now, really, if we think about it from an industry perspective, a lot more focus on cloud contact center, which is many providers that I'm sure many that you guys know about who are on the call today, but still not really having a joined up approach between channels. So if I was calling my doctor as an example, and I wanted to arrange a real-time video consultation, that is a lot of customer effort from me being able to probably be sent a meeting and to have a different application to be able to launch the meeting and do something else. Really, really tricky to be able to do that. So moving away from that to what we're seeing now and what we're delivering now in wave three, where we can have this one single platform that's joined up with the channels that are joined up at the same time. So let's take each one of these things in turn. If I have one total experience platform and I have all my frontline teams on contact center or CX, and I have inherent visibility of everything that's happening within second or third line within my firm, that's really compelling because I can reach out and bring people into conversations if necessary. I can use tools where I can pass contextual based information on the call that's happening right now to my second or third line support team. I can be a lot more flexible about how I'm using resource within my organization. And then on the second point around seamless omnichannel, this is so powerful because it makes us think about how we bring services together to produce an omnichannel experience. We talked earlier around the use of video and the use of messaging services and how we can move from messaging to video as an example. And great use cases like housing associations, where we have tenants that are looking at issues like the boiler's broken or there might be some repair that needs doing. We have the ability to take a conversation that starts on messaging and then moves to video where we can do troubleshooting and show things in real time. And we've even got clients like in car charging, electric car charging, that have embedded this technology within their own applications. So with the Britannic team, you can all be really creative, again, back to use cases about how you're going to be using this technology. We'll take point three in a moment, but again, it's customer experience being connected across the entire platform. So again, let's have a look at now the AI. AI is a massive. That's not my mum saying the AI, but I mean, AI. Okay, it's a big buzzword at the moment, especially within the C-level community. What are people doing with artificial intelligence? Well, we've actually got a story here about what we are doing. Okay, and again, these tools are available to use right here, right now. Let's take the left-hand side, AI Companion. So again, technology started in meetings, conversation summarization, call task follow-up, sentiment and speech analytics. Why can we do that so well? We can do it so well because of the cloud platform with confidence with Zoom technology at scale. So transcription services, sentiment services, AI Companion's your friend there. And it's remarkable and brilliant and easy and simple to use. And then if we take the next level of what we can do with AI, let's start thinking about agents and people who are using these tools and using the contact center day in, day out, taking 50, 60, 100 calls per day. How are we going to make their lives easier? and in turn, help them bring their best self to work so they can deliver that next level of customer experience. Well, you can see three relevant examples here. First of all, isn't it great that we can have an open platform that we can take information from CRM, or your Dynamics, MS Dynamics, or maybe your Salesforce instance, and show that information to the agent in real time. So my account balance, my segmentation, whatever fields, whatever information is relevant, whatever you've done with the discovery with the amazing Britannic guys here, we can take that information and use that information. And then think about the calls now in progress, or the messaging is now in progress. Imagine if we can take your knowledge base and leverage that knowledge base in real time. So someone's asking me an inquiry, could be around, I don't know, how do I check my credit card balance? And then that knowledge base article appears to the agent in real time, that's relevant, that's up to date, that's, especially in financial services, something that's going to pass the regulator, and I can give that information again in real time. Doesn't matter if I'm saying it or speaking it. The knowledge base appears, the agent answers the question, first contact resolution. And then again, making the agent's life easier, use the AI companion technology to draft the post-engagement summary. So no more spending 3 or 4 minutes in wrap-up time, typing loads of notes to go into CRM. Press a button and let AI do the heavy lifting, and then push that information into CRM. It's really brilliant. And even with things like helping agents, if I'm saving 30 seconds per call on wrap-up time, that's adding up to a huge saving within my business. Which means that when we can use the agents to start being the conversation designers of the future, or working with the Britannic team to be the analysts and data analysts of the future, super exciting time to be around. So let's think about total experience. Okay, so I'm going to quickly build through this slide here, because I'm quite conscious of the time here. You can see moving to the cloud with confidence. If we couldn't move to the cloud with confidence, none of this would be possible. It would be impossible, because we've moved to the cloud, but we don't have confidence in what we've done. With Britannic, you can move to the cloud with confidence. They'll help you. These guys, experts in the field here. So let's get one done and ticked. Give you the confidence, have the availability, the uptime, the phone numbers, the SIP trunks, all that stuff, all that noise. Make you confident about how that's being delivered. And then the next piece is around the platform that you're actually using. So if we have a platform that's connected, that can understand and see what's happening, both real time and historical, with confidence, it means that then we can overlay artificial intelligence with great data to deliver outcomes. Because AI is only going to be as good as the data that you're putting in, and how you're training the model, and how you're building the model going forward. So garbage in, garbage out. And it's very straightforward to build examples of that, if you will. Go on to ChatGPT and try yourself. I'm sure many people have already today. In fact, it's going to be ubiquitous with Apple embedding it within the next releases of iOS as well. So this is going to be part of our lives. But it can only be part of our lives if we have confidence at level 1 with cloud, and confidence at level 2 with platform. So to kind of bring this all to life, really, as far as Zoom's concerned, let's think about why people are actually choosing Zoom CX as a platform. You might have to spin on there, James, if you don't mind, my friend. I'm not quite sure what's happened to my slide control. Perfect. Thank you very much. It sits within one single platform. We have the confidence that our cloud really is doing what it's saying. We can give you confidence around availability. We can give you confidence around data residency. All these things that have probably been a bit of a blocker or beforehand for people to think about how they're going to transform their business. We can work with Britannic and work with yourselves to help you understand what great looks like. You might want to use all of the platform. You might only want to use a small bit of it. You might be interested just in events, but have the confidence to know that you can move to the cloud. And by doing so, when you've selected the right product to enable you to reach those business outcomes, start going on the journey that we've just described over the past 25 minutes. It's really exciting and really interesting. And I think I want to actually take a quick question here, actually, Janet. So you put it into chat here, actually, which is about, do we need an in-house expertise to integrate our existing systems? Well, you can see at the bottom of the slide here, we have developer ecosystem. This is like your doorway to, I would say, creativity, to decide what systems you need to talk to other systems and where you want to involve CRM or your ticketing system or your authentication system or your analytics system that James talked about. This is exactly why Britannic are here, because you don't need the in-house expertise. You need a partner that you can trust and a partner that's going to help you go on the journey. And I think James, again, mentioned it really well. It's an iterative process. In the old world, we spent 2 years putting in a new contact center and left it alone. It was great, but it was complex. In the new world, we spend a few months implementing and then use the rest of that time to really tune and drive and understand the analytics and understand where we need to have those integration points. So as I say, Britannic, brilliant partner to get involved in that. It's just going to help you unlock and bring your business to life. So I hope that helps. Back to you, James. I think Jeanette might have to do a little bit of unmuting. Perfect. It's very disconcerting when somebody else is in charge of the mute button, especially for somebody that talks for England like I do. But anyway, back to you.
Cheers, James. Okay, we're over to you, Gil. Are you able to hit the remote control button so you can look at the slides?
Okay, indeed.
There you go. All yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, James. It's always tricky to follow such a great and informative speaker, but I will try my best. So, connecting the dots, and both Jameses actually have talked about that kind of leveraging of interoperability of systems to really be able to kind of design and flow that customer journey as you want. So you're now back in control of it. It's not like you've got old monolithic systems that design it for you. They were designed for large companies and you've had to take them on. You can now take the best bits of those and drive it forward. I spoke back in 2001 at Britannic's Conversion Summit around joining the dots. And we've seen kind of how those organizations that have embraced that interoperability and have put this at their heart of any transformation program or platform renewal, and now understanding their digital ecosystem and making strides to be able to improve that customer experience and improve internal delivery and efficiencies. I think people can get lost one side or the other. Oh, it's all about the customer and they forget about their in-house teams, or it's all about the in-house teams and then the customer journey is awful. But now you can really mold the two together. There we go. Ooh. So, embrace enhancement and integration. The way organizations such as Zoom have opened up their platforms, and you saw on that Zoom platform side, there are various APIs and low code, no code configuration that is enabling this process and making it accessible. And I think the big word now is not about kind of the experts having control of it here. It's now accessible. I think kind of worldwide, we're trying to be more accessible. We're trying to be more open with people. We're trying to kind of allow better communication between kind of different cultures, different kind of races, religions, everything that there is. And actually, we can now bubble that down more into how we as an organization want to interact with various different aspects of our customer base and internally. So we're moving away from that kind of big budget, vast technical teams, and we're kind of coming back down now to the kind of the ability for Britannic working with Zoom and others to support that real customer-centric strategy. So understanding your digital ecosystem, and I think this is at the heart of any change, and kind of quite often you get that growth of, oh, I just put this on here, and this department over here have got one platform, and this one here have got another something. And actually, what you can then, the big trouble then is, can you define that single source of truth about your customer or about how you are working? And kind of it's moving away from that fragmented data to really starting to pull together. So it's the understanding between what is an organizational wide platform, and what do various different departments potentially need for their kind of, to be able to do their role. And actually, how do you then pull that back so you have that single source of truth? Are they efficient? Kind of, are different departments actually using very similar systems for slightly different goals that you can start to look to merge together? You can start to look at that input once, transfer across many. And I think there's all of those aspects which we go back to the efficiency that James was talking about. 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute quicker. The fact that they've only got to put someone's change of address into one system and it updates 5. That's almost the simplest aspect within what we're trying to do here. And that means you can then optimize, and you can really start to look at and feel the benefits of unified platforms across departments. We're talking with the university at the moment around student well-being, and the fact that each department is almost like a different organization, and they can't know all the details. So if you go and see a counsellor, you can't know all the details about that, but you want the lecturer to know if their attendance at lectures has dropped. You want that lecturer to know that actually they've been going to see a counsellor. The detail doesn't matter, but suddenly then they understand, because the student expects that anyone in university, if they talk to them, if they look them up on the system, they will know about me because they will know their customer or know their user. And so we're looking at how you're bringing those dots together. Here's a couple of flags. Actually, this person has been having trouble with finance. They're doing this. Their counsellor and their attendance has dropped. That is a flag for actually university to then be proactive in going to find out how they are. And this is where kind of we're starting to find that change and really starting to kind of empower the people that we work with to harness the collective power of all the kind of platforms that you have. So we're then looking at the kind of the challenges of those integrations. And I think this is where the real importance of mapping comes out. And it kind of goes back, it's very simple, but it's just, what do we have? Put it down on a piece of paper, get a sketchbook out, because what you'll find is that people might call the same platform something slightly different because they're using one part of it. And you start to kind of realize that kind of mind map that you can create of your digital ecosystem, and actually the reality of kind of the human versus machine aspect, as an example. This is a really important bit that people forget. Kind of humans should be at the heart of the change because they are the ones that can listen. Kind of, we're not just yes or no. We can actually look at the different nuances of the conversation that's happening. And so you want to free up that time. That person that rings up a council or a housing association on a Friday at 4 o'clock because they haven't spoken to anyone all week. You want a person to be able to take that because they have the time and energy to be able to do it. The fact that I've just changed my phone number or my email address, actually my value isn't there. That is where you can start to look at how all of those systems talk together so you can really receive that, update them all, so you know that when you have to be proactively communicating with someone, you have the details and you're not relying on one of your employees who's missed off a system so that now their billing is going to the wrong address because they've changed it on all the other systems. So this is where we can start to do and start to kind of build that plan and really start to kind of go back, and I've said it before, to that single source of truth. And as soon as you got that, and as soon as you got that baseline, those layers that you put on top of that around kind of utilizing that interoperability, around being kind of customer centric, that is how we can move. That is how we can start to develop with you, and you can do it in nice small chunks, because unlike kind of the big CRM changes of the past, you no longer have to plan for 2 years, put it in place for 2 years, and realize that after 4 years, it's actually not what you need because your business has moved on 4 years. So now it's, as James has said, make that change, do that first bit. What's the value of that? Has that worked? Have that strategy of where you want to go, but don't get caught in that digital cul-de-sac where you're only kind of pigeonholing yourself into one focus area without the understanding of everything. So a little bit of an example of what's been kind of what we've been doing. So working with a couple of organizations, and they had their communication journey and their outreach and what they're trying to do with their customers and their users was very ad hoc. It was very kind of reliant on someone making a phone call, on someone updating their CRM system, on someone realizing that something has been updated, seeing an email that they needed to respond to. And there was no real understanding around kind of the individual groups that they were trying to talk to, or kind of that effort of, oh, I don't know when I'm free. And there's all those bits that kind of, that you're starting to kind of put that pressure back on the person, and it becomes more ad hoc, because if I'm busy or I take a phone call and I haven't updated the CRM system, that CRM system is then almost invalid because the data in it is old. So where we're trying to go and take is we're kind of building out this ecosystem. We're understanding what you've got. We've got kind of very well-known platforms there, which are kind of, some people would immediately think that they're a bit kind of, yeah, your Outlook, as example, people kind of see that as over here. It's a bit monolithic. It's a bit on its own. We can't really do much with it. So it's just over here. But what we started to do is go, right, in this example, it was HubSpot, but the CRM doesn't really matter. That's where the trigger comes from. That's where the kind of the marketing has gone out and someone's accepted it. Someone has replied back to a general email wanting to have a conversation with someone. And then what we can do here at Britannic is look at that orchestration layer that we put together, starting to pull in all of those different aspects that you've got. So this is an example with a university, and like many universities, they had Zoom licenses there that they weren't necessarily fully utilizing. And they were also realizing that ringing someone up at the age of 18 or 19, one, you're lucky if they answer, and it's not their preferred method. So now what we're looking at, so we're now joining in with the WhatsApp. We're one of the first to actually utilize WhatsApp groups within WhatsApp for Business. So they've segmented down the audience that they're targeting. So they're looking at the different parts of that. So we're utilizing that. And then we're bringing that information back into the orchestration layer. And then we're linking the Outlook calendar in with Zoom so that we're able to drive that part so that it's not double keying. I'm free here, click, there it goes. Right, now we've got a URL that's going out to the end customer. Here we go. Do you want to book any of these times? This time suits me. So suddenly the customer is now in charge and they want that engagement. And also they can now choose, do they just want it as a voice call, but it's kind of as a Zoom meeting call, but is it just voice? Or actually, I want to see you. Kind of, if I'm going to go and spend lots of money and see there, oh, I'm quite happy. I'm going to sit in there. I want to know the person that I'm talking to. And then we can take the insights that we've got from that meeting, and we can automatically back and update the kind of the outputs and the actions that there are from that call. So that ad hocness and that reliance on kind of those transactional tasks for a person to take that tend to go to the bottom of the list as the list grows, we're taking those away and enabling them to actually spend that time truly contacting and having the time to speak to those that need that voice and need that interaction. So we go back, all of this is all very easy to talk about, but it's the starting. And so it's truly understanding that digital ecosystem that you have. It's understanding what your customer-centric strategy is moving forward. And that is where kind of Britannic and our partners can come in and really help you. The moving to the cloud, we're all going there, which means that those platforms are opening up. Some of the larger, more monolithic platforms are being a little bit slower, especially kind of some of those in the housing industry, but there are ways that we can do it, and we're starting to pull those in, and we're starting to pull that forward. And rather kind of, we're enabling that your organization to be kind of customer first. We're not bowing to every customer demand, but making it easier for either you to contact them with the right details that you have, or them to contact you. You're encouraging, not discouraging. And as soon as you encourage, and they can self-serve, and we go through the workshops and we do all the questioning with you about why. It's the most annoying question, but actually when you're in an organization and you're doing something, you just do it because that's what you've always done. When someone comes in and asks you why, because we're working with a number of different organizations who have had similar problems, you start to break those barriers down and start to realize where those efficiencies can be built and how we can really start to to work with you. So we've been helping organizations, as the example there, improve how they communicate and building that kind of the communication strategy that fits them based on the infrastructure they have. It's not rip and replace. It's not a total reload of what they've got. It's utilizing the best of the functions and features that they have. We're then looking at kind of within the insurance industry, we're looking at that automation of that first notification of loss. Have people supplied all the right information? Does that information match with the CRM that we have? Yes, in which case then this can go through to be processed by someone. If it doesn't, we can collect all that data before it goes to someone. And that means that then when an agent picks it up to deal with it, they can handle it at first contact because they're not going back and forth. They're not waiting for 5 or 10 days to be able to complete an aspect because they've gone back to ask for some more address details. All of that is done in the background. So when it comes to the person, they deliver the human value that you've employed them for, which is to process something, which is to get something done and move them forward. And again, we're not just going to sit here and kind of repeat what you've already got. We've done that with a few organizations. Oh, kind of, we want to look at how we work with our emails. Can you just repeat what we're doing? Well, no, actually, let's look at how we develop, we move on, kind of, and really utilize where we're going. It's amazing. It's amazing when you really, really understand your ecosystem to find out the licensing that you already have and the platforms that you already have with the functions and features that they have, how we can start to bring that together and utilizing the power of Zoom and the power of the kind of tools that we have, we can help you take strides forward in your kind of interoperability and your customer and agent experience. That. Oh, sorry. There we go, James. Is James going to take back? Give up remote control. There we go.
I'm here, Gil. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so thanks very much, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing at that point, unless there's anything you wanted to say on this one, Gil.
No.
Fabulous. So, do we have any questions for us, Janet?
We do. So, we are with Microsoft. Would that affect getting most out of Zoom?
That's one for you, James.
Good, great question. And you know, I literally answered that about 1 hour ago, just prior to this webinar. There's coexistence here, okay? I mean, Microsoft Teams is a great tool, okay? But it's not customer experience. It's not a contact center, if you will. So what we have is tools where we can, for example, have Zoom delivering the front office capability with integration into Microsoft Teams, and Britannic can help with that. My advice here would be to go back to what are you trying to achieve? And if we look at things like skills-based routing or omnichannel contact center and even AI-powered services, where the value of that sits and where the value in your organization of that sits. So we can still protect your Microsoft investment, but it's just a different use case.
Thank you, James. The next one is for our James Campbell. What difficulties do you see with this type of process? So we're talking about the customer success program.
Yeah. So where we've run into issues before is the level of buy-in that we need from people in order to get it delivered. So we do ask some challenging questions through that process. Like I said, there's a kind of a templated toolkit which the team have access to when we're going through the discovery and diagnostic process. And a number of the questions in there are designed to be challenging of the people that we're asking them to. So why do you do certain things? Is that the most efficient way? What do your customers think about this? Those kind of things that people are potentially slightly uncomfortable in answering. And that can, in some cases, make us a little unpopular. There's also the point that we're needing to talk to a lot of people in order to do this, in order to get a really rich and deep view of what it is that we need to do to make a positive impact on the business, we need to speak to an awful lot of people from an awful lot of areas. And that needs coordination then. So we need somebody with a sufficient influence on the organization that'll give us access and endorse us into these people to do that. But the outcomes that we get from doing it properly are kind of manyfold more successful than ones where we've kind of gone in and tried to deliver point solutions based on kind of really niche needs, because they kind of, whilst those kind of tactical things are really important, if we're going to do strategic change, which is the purpose of today's webinar, really we need to have that broader view of the entire shooting match.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because we talk to IT who might want to move to the cloud, and you talk to stakeholders in the business that might have a completely different metric that they're looking at, like reducing cost to serve as an example. They're both conversations that are important. And what you guys clearly do is bring these stakeholders together. Because again, if we're working in silos, what could happen there? Well, it's a tail wagging the dog scenario, isn't it? IT might not really understand some of these challenges within CX, might get the move to the cloud, but then other stakeholders don't necessarily have the capability to meet what they're looking to achieve. So by having this consultative approach that you guys are doing here is really, really valuable, because it brings all of these things to life. And wouldn't you rather hear about that now rather than when you ported all the numbers over or you put the new platform in? Do you know what I mean? So it's completely the right approach.
Exactly. And it's those 4 pillars that I mentioned before as well, of technology, data, process, whatever the other one was, I can't remember now. But it kind of feeds into what Gil mentioned as well about kind of the value of the human in the process. So if we've got a directive from one area of the organization that we are kind of being really strict, we're automating as much process as possible, we're getting as few human eyeballs on something as we can, well, we can deliver upon that, but that's not going to give us a great customer experience, because the customer experience requires some human intelligence. So we need to have a broader view of kind of the entire landscape to be able to pick this up and make a kind of valuable recommendation back into the business. And again, that's part of the bit that's challenging, because the people that set the strategy might have had this at the outset, but we've discovered through our discovery and diagnostic process this extra piece of information which is completely valuable to their customer experience, which needs to be fed back into those recommendations.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's really, really valuable.
Thank you both. We do have one more, but I think James from Zoom, I think you already answered it. Do we need an in-house expertise to integrate our existing systems?
Yeah, I gave you my view of the world, so maybe other James, Mr. Campbell, over to you.
Yeah, so I think Gil's probably best placed to answer this, but I think you might have had some signal issues and dropped off there. No, in short, there is some, again, strategy setting that needs to be done from in-house teams, but kind of the power of working with somebody like Zoom, power of working with somebody like Britannic is that we've got the experience of doing most of these kind of things previously. We've got a lot of skill sets sitting in our team, which we can deploy to kind of augment and amplify the skills that exist within our customers' teams as well. So, and if you've got these kind of things, please talk to us about them, and I'm sure there's something we can do to support.
Okay, so unless is there any more questions? Please put them in the Q&A box or in a chat, and I can ask. Otherwise, we will finish.
Cool. If there's no more questions, that's my phone number and email address on there. If anything comes up after the session, please let me know. It'd be great to get your feedback on this session and talk to you about how we might be able to help you in the future as well.